guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brittany and I like to talk about all things from a biblical standpoint when it comes to homemaking, motherhood, homeschooling, being a wife, budgeting our money. And so today I have a video for you on homeschooling in a small house. How can we do this wisely? How can we do this in a way that brings life and joy to the atmosphere of our home? And can it be done? So we live in a mobile home that's pretty small. It has very minimal storage spaces, and I have 4 children, my husband and I. So it has 3 rooms, 2 baths, and a living room and a kitchen and a pantry area where the washer and dryer are. And so we have no schoolroom. This is our first official year of homeschooling, and so I thought I would just share how we are doing that, but in a way that no matter the fit of your home, hopefully these can be some tips or just some ideas that you can implement in your own home if you have little to no storage, if you are on a teeny budget, and if you're just looking for some ways to organize. I am by no means a organizing expert. This is something I actually had to be very prayerful of, that the Lord would be so gracious to just give me eyes as I go about organizing my home. And so I thought we can just go ahead and get started. I want to start off by saying I want this channel to be for whoever would like to just glean anything that I'm discussing or talking about with ideas and wisdom from anything I'm sharing. But also, and most importantly, I am speaking to the believer, and so I want this to be a place that is edifying and one that is pointing you towards the things of God. And with that being said, when it comes to homeschooling, my husband and I really felt it was vital for us to take on the educating of our children. We've come to really making sure that we are constantly asking the question, what is an education? How does one obtain an education? And can an education be received apart from the knowledge of God? And with that being said, we really felt like a public school was not going to train up our children in understanding that they are made in the image of God first and foremost, that they must learn to serve others and move about in a world where God has called them to be a light in a dark place, and their education is not going to give them that. So we really felt that our job to equip and train up our children, not only in the fear and admonition of the Lord, but by educating them, that is also the way that we will do that, train them up in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And so we are so delighted to take on this role. And that being said, I want to encourage you, the first place you start, before you even start to try to figure out your homeschool, would be to figure out, is homeschooling where you should be? I would say yes, especially if you're the believer, especially if you don't have a solid classical school around you. But we must really and truly be asking the question, what is an education? To what is a person? To what end ought we aim? With that being said, that's from Autumn Kern. She's fabulous to follow on Instagram and YouTube, so I would follow her as well. But that really puts into perspective this training up. We want our children to understand that they are made in the image of God. Then we should be giving them the very best knowledge that is built around truth, beauty, and goodness, the transcendentals. And again, a public school is just not going to give them that. And even some private schools aren't going to give them that. And so once you figure out if homeschooling is for you, then you need to find out and figure out a philosophy to follow. What sort of philosophy will you follow and doesn't line up with the Word of God? And then from there, once you figure out your philosophy, then everything else will just be so much easier. You will see that you will start saving money. You will understand how to look at your curricula and make sure that it falls into your philosophy. And then you will also be able to bring that into your home and implement it even on the days that you're not sitting down at the table to do school. Your philosophy should also encompass life and godliness. And so that means when your children are going out to check chickens, when they're bringing you diapers to serve the infant brother or sister, when they are moving about making their beds and getting dressed for the day, all of these things should be bringing light and an awareness that they are to be serving their Creator. And in doing so, that is an education and that is knowledge as well. And your curriculum should be pouring into that. Your philosophy should be following those things. And I'm not just talking about curriculum that has a few Bible verses stamped all throughout that, but curricula and a philosophy that is grounded in truth and objective truth that provides an understanding that God is the Creator and will initially train up your children in virtue and understanding how to move about God's creation with other man, and understanding how to move about this world that God gave them to take dominion of. These things are commands that God gave us from the very beginning, and so we want our curriculum to fall into that. And once again you have that, you're really set. You don't need all the things that you see on Instagram and Pinterest and social media. This will really start to eliminate the things that you that you would be bringing into your home, because you kind of just see sometimes the folly behind some of these things, the wastefulness and the consumerism behind many of these things. And not that you can't have lovely things. Actually, I am a believer that as the moms, we should be bringing in lovely things to our homes and placing that in the view of our children's eyes and our husband's heart and eyes. But we also, as moms, are called to be wise stewards of the finances and the resources God has given us. And so we just don't always need all the things. And so following and understanding what is going to breathe life into your children's hearts, into their education, these things will really start to take place and root into things that you buy. Then also, before you even buy anything, as the mothers, are we providing an atmosphere for education? I really want blurred lines when it comes to education in my home, and so I am prayerfully asking that God would always give me the means of grace to move about my home so that my tongue, my behavior, and my actions and my thoughts are holy and righteous to Him, and therefore that I'm creating an atmosphere that is lovely to live life in. Because I could have all the beautiful things in the home, all the greatest curriculum, all the greatest books, but if I am constantly nagging and in a pity party or irritated or anxious, that's really going to steal from the atmosphere of learning. That's really going to take away from the joy of my children, and they're going to be acting as if they always have to walk on eggshells or worry like is mom about to snap. That being said, we should be mindful of what sort of atmosphere are we even providing in our education. From there, I would say just be patient with yourself. So now you have your philosophy, you know your homeschooling, you have possibly chosen a curriculum to follow, to look after, then you need a place to organize it. And so now we'll kind of just get into how in this small home, how I organize my homeschool in this small space. So we use open shelving because of our budget. Bookcases and the style we're trying to achieve was just kind of out of our financial budget right now, and so open shelving was just the way for us. Like I said, with open shelving, you also have to be kind of mindful of what you are bringing in. With doing a Charlotte Mason homeschool and classical homeschool, we really just use lots of books, good books, beautiful books. We don't have workbooks. So we are able to just keep our curriculum right there on the top shelf. Those are my books. I keep them all there. I know where to pull from every day that I'm coming and going to put forth what we're going to do for the day. I pull straight from the bookshelf. Now for any extras, for letter work, for handwriting, utensils, I will go about and place those things in baskets if they need to be out, or I have a few other areas around my home where I am storing these things. So when I'm saying be patient with yourself, allow yourself time to buy within the means that fits your budget. You don't have to have all the things today. I would give you the tip, if you need some storage, first go about decluttering your home. By doing so, you could possibly free up some baskets within your home that you can then use for the storage. You might free up a shelf to put some of these things on, and that is free to do. So for example, I had this pretty basket down here that was storing my teas under my kitchen shelf over here that is closed. Well, I traded that out for a wire basket and put the teas in the wire basket, and then brought out this basket to kind of hide some things and then allow that to sit on the shelf. And that took no time, and that took no money to do. I also had this basket here that I wanted to hide some of our letters in, and so I took that basket from where it was, I replaced it with a wire basket, and brought this basket out and put our letters in there. And these are just things that you can start to do. And certain things that you just don't want to have out, you can hide them under your bed. For example, you could hide them on top of your closet. You can hide them in your pantry. Our pantry is so tiny, we just don't have the space. But that's another option. You can use one of those hanging shoe racks and hang that behind your door. You can then use, what else do I have here? You can look on Facebook Marketplace and look for a China hutch where you can store your items. Again, the open shelving is just so easy and cost effective, and you have to be mindful too about what you're bringing in, so you're not bringing in all the things. You're actually thinking, okay, this is going to be out for all to see. Is this lovely? Is this a need? Does this serve the purpose I need? Is it practical? And if it doesn't hit those things, then you don't bring it in. Next, some things you can think about is maybe a rolling cart. Can you implement a rolling cart into your homeschool? You put all of your curricula on there, and then you just roll it back into the closet or a child's room at the end of the school day. And then this is again another way to get your child involved. They bring out the curriculum, they put away their curriculum. Do you use it as a little art cart where you have all of the utensils, the notebooks, the ugly things that you don't want out, or not necessarily ugly, but the not as beautiful things, and you just keep them on the rolly cart, and then the cart can easily be put aside when it's not in use. Think about a trunk or some sort of shelving unit that can be tucked in a corner that can hold many of your resources, and then they can hide things that you just don't want in the view of your eye. I've seen Pine and Prospect where she had I believe it was an ottoman, if not, maybe not an ottoman, it was something like a TV unit like this, a unit. She had all of her kiddos' books in there, and some of their hand manipulatives in there, and just things that she didn't really want to be out. She also used a drawer set, like a actual dresser, to hide some of her things, and that was set up really lovely in her kitchen. I have another set of homeschool things. And I also want to encourage you that many of these things I have thrifted. I have not been able to run out to the store and buy a lot of these things, really, aside from our books, and many of our books I actually have thrifted. I have known the curriculum we're going to follow. I knew a lot of the classic book lists. And so when I'm out at thrift stores and Goodwill, I just pick it up when I see it, if it's $1 a book. And so there were quite a few books that were on our curriculum list this year that I had bought for so cheap. And so that was a huge chunk of change that we saved. All of these baskets, minus my IKEA baskets down here, have been thrifted. I have never spent over, I don't even think I've spent over maybe $5. I did get like a huge basket that I used for my laundry. But aside from these, almost every single basket in my home has been thrifted. Again, go back to this idea of going slowly. Go slow. Allow yourself time to look through the store. Allow yourself time that if they don't have it, then I'm just going to be content with what I can use and just store this under the bed for now until I have something a little more lovely to place it in. Use jars. Use Mason jars to hide your pencils and your pens, and use apothecary jars to hide stamps or your children's crayons. There are tons of ideas on organization, on Pinterest, vintage, whatever your style is that you can possibly find. But at the end of the day, be mindful that you are called to steward your money wisely, and also that our children just don't need all the things. We don't need all the things. We need good books, outdoor, atmosphere that the mother is setting in her home, and God in all of it and over all of it to really bring home a beautiful and lovely life-giving education for our kids. I hope this was a helpful video. I hope you gained some tips and tricks, and I hope to see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe, and have a lovely day.